It was the late 1960s in California, a time of counterculture, flower power, and rebellion. San Francisco was buzzing with protests, psychedelic music, and the promise of a new society. But beneath the haze of peace signs and protest songs, terror slithered through the Bay Area. An anonymous figure, faceless and mocking, began to stalk young couples and taunt police with cryptic messages. He would name himself. He would carve his signature into American history. He was the Zodiac Killer, a murderer whose identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in true crime. The beginning of the terror, the Zodiac's reign, began on December 20th, 1968, on a cold night. Teenagers David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen parked on Lake Herman Road, near Vallejo. The secluded spot was a typical lover's lane. But that night, their quiet date ended in blood. A car pulled up. A man stepped out. Shots rang out in the dark. David was killed with a gunshot to the head. Betty Lou was chased and shot in the back as she fled. Police had no suspects. At first, it seemed like a random double homicide. But this was just the opening act. On July 4th, 1969, another attack stunned the community. Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau sat in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park. A man approached, shining a flashlight in their faces, then opened fire. Darlene was killed. Mike survived, despite multiple gunshot wounds. Hours later, police received a call from a man claiming responsibility for both this attack and the Lake Herman Road murders. The killer had begun his game. The letters and ciphers on August 1st, 1969, newspapers across the Bay Area received letters. Written in blocky handwriting, the author took credit for the killings and demanded the papers publish his message. Each letter contained a piece of a cryptogram, a cipher of symbols that he claimed revealed his identity. "If you crack it," he wrote, "you will have me."
Okay.
The San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald printed the ciphers, sparking a frenzy. Amateur codebreakers and professional cryptologists scrambled to solve them. Within a week, a high school teacher and his wife cracked the 408-character cipher. The message was chilling, but not the revelation of a name. "I like killing people because IT is so much fun. IT is more fun than killing. Wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." The cipher ended cryptically. "I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." The Zodiac had spoken. The symbol. Soon after, the killer branded himself with a symbol, a crosshair-like circle with intersecting lines, like the scope of a rifle. It became his signature, scrawled on letters, envelopes, and even on cars at crime scenes. He called himself the Zodiac, borrowing the name from horoscopes popular at the time. With his letters, he transformed himself from an anonymous murderer into a mythic terror. He mocked police, insulted the public, and demanded his stories stay on the front page. The Lake Berryessa attack on September 27, 1969. The Zodiac's cruelty escalated. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, a young couple, were picnicking at Lake Berryessa when a man approached wearing a hooded black costume emblazoned with his crosshair symbol. He carried a gun and pre-cut lengths of rope. He tied the couple, then stabbed them repeatedly. Cecilia later died from her wounds. Brian survived, providing a chilling account of the encounter. Before leaving, the Zodiac drew his symbol on the couple's car door and wrote the dates of his previous murders, as if keeping score. This attack was theatrical, ritualistic, almost medieval. The Zodiac was no longer just a killer. He was performing for fear itself. The Paul Stine murder. 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969, the Zodiac struck again. This time in San Francisco's Presidio Heights. He hailed a cab driven by Paul Stine, then shot him in the head. Unlike his previous attacks on couples, this was an execution in the heart of the city. 3 teenagers witnessed the killer wiping down the cab. Police arrived within minutes, but a radio mix-up described the suspect as a black man, allowing the white Zodiac to walk right past officers and vanish. Days later, the Chronicle received a letter with a piece of Paul Stine's bloody shirt enclosed proof of the Zodiac's brazen crime. He mocked police, threatened to shoot children on school buses, and sent more ciphers, some never solved to this day. The letters keep coming through 1970 and 1971. The Zodiac continued his correspondence. Some letters contained bomb threats, diagrams of explosives, and demands for publicity. He referenced pop culture, quoting The Mikado, a Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. His ego thrived on fear and attention. Police departments across Northern California formed task forces, but the killer was always one step ahead. He taunted detectives, writing, "Police owe Zodiac 37. He claimed dozens of victims, though only 5 murders were ever confirmed. Whether he lied or truly killed, more remains uncertain." Over the decades, countless men have been suspected of being the Zodiac. Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester, was the most prominent suspect. He matched some descriptions, owned a Zodiac brand watch with a crosshair logo, and made cryptic statements. But DNA and handwriting comparisons never conclusively linked him. Rick Marshall, Lawrence Kane, and others have been investigated, each with circumstantial evidence but no definitive proof. More recently, forensic genealogists and internet sleuths have suggested new suspects, but none officially confirmed. The Zodiac's true identity remains elusive. The cultural impact the Zodiac Killer became a symbol of America's darkest fears. Unlike earlier killers, he manipulated the media, demanded attention, and branded himself with a logo decades before the age of social media. Hollywood immortalized him in films like Zodiac 2007, based on Robert Graysmith's books and countless documentaries. His cryptograms continue to fascinate codebreakers, with one, the 340 cipher, finally solved in 2020, revealing more taunts, but still no name. The case also changed law enforcement, inspiring better cooperation across jurisdictions and a recognition of how killers exploit publicity. The mystery endures. More than 50 years later, the Zodiac's shadow still looms over California. The survivors still remember his cold voice, his hooded mask, his cruel laughter written in ink. The families of victims still wait for answers. Was the Zodiac a lone madman, laughing at the world? Or was he something larger, a phantom born from the chaos of the 1960s, feeding off America's fears? We may never know, but his symbol endures, etched into history, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones who refuse to take off their masks. And so we ask, who was the Zodiac Killer? Will his name ever be revealed, or will he remain forever a cipher in the dark? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Crimson Narratives, because behind every unsolved mystery lies a story waiting to be told.